This video is entitled How I Became a Financial Services Salesman. Uh, just thought I'd give you a little story about my work background and about how I chose the financial services industry. I'd done yard work for a little bit of money. I started working at 13 at a deli where I made sandwiches and scooped ice cream. Then went into the military where I worked as a mechanic. Basically, I did shore patrol duty, which is like being a policeman. Uh, my first rank was called fireman, and I did literally have fireman training and fought fires in the Navy and worked as a first responder, and then went on and had some special forces training and was a combat rescue swimmer, which is basically a first responder that may have to fight if they have to, let's say, recover a pilot from behind enemy lines. So I was trained in small arms. And then in the Navy, was under orders. I always had to help anyone who was injured, if they're American military personnel, American civilians, allies, or even injured enemy combatants, because I'd had the paramedic equivalent training for the Navy, and they were understaffed in the Navy in everything, but particularly in the paramedic type job, which was one of the more rigorous academic training programs that they had. So I'd worked with my hands. I'd seen some blood and guts, car wrecks, accidents leading to death on the flight deck, compound fractures, crushed limbs, and I was detached to the San Diego Police Department from the Navy, where we went out and did raids on blocks where they were selling crack in the low-income minority neighborhoods. Black and Latino would roust up all the young men basically for a radius of maybe several hundred meters around in radius, throw them up against the wall, frisk them. The ones who had crack or some other illegal substance or a weapon or wanted to be brought in for interrogation and released would be handcuffed and put into vehicles and taken back to one of the police precincts. So, being a fireman, I knew it wasn't that glamorous, that the fire suit smelled. Nearly died in one fire where we had to put out a fire in a weapons magazine if we hadn't been able to put it out. The ordnance on the aircraft carrier would have exploded. Saw suicides that were successful and unsuccessful, but the people were badly injured. So I knew that being a fireman would also require going to things like car accidents where there might be dead children in the vehicle that you'd have to take out, mangled bodies, screaming hysterical people that you might have to fight fires in freezing weather or extremely hot weather, wearing a lot of gear, being wet. So I knew being a fireman was definitely an honorable job, but having done it, I didn't really want to do that for 30 years. And even though I didn't really know how to articulate it intellectually, comprehend what would happen, my experience in shore patrol and with the San Diego Police Department, I didn't want to go into law enforcement. I also was just a mediocre student, C plus, B minus college student. 40% or more of the people who go to college drop out and don't graduate on time. So amongst all who started, I was above average, but for those who finished, I was just mediocre, and I was always interested in other activities, military activities, athletic activities, socializing, having fun. I tried to get into the music industry and start a music company, and I was a DJ, and I studied and passed, but I could have put much more effort into it and done much better in school. So I went to the job uh, placement or aid center. Being a economic history major, they were of little or no help. Um, didn't necessarily have the grades to go to a top tier business school. Um, knew a lot of attorneys, had many in my family. Just didn't think I wanted to be in an adversarial relationship. I knew there was a lot of corruption and in the judiciary and the legal system, uh, and just being dyslexic, especially, school just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It was politically correct and dogmatic. Most of what I was taught in economics, and I won't go into particulars, has now been pretty much discarded, and they've moved on. In the sciences now, it's also become quite dogmatic, and original research and ideas is discouraged. It's very much a government bureaucracy as far as where most of the funding comes from. So being an academic, although I was offered to stay and get a PhD in sociology because they liked, I did excel in those classes and kind of top of the class grades. And I was interested in the sociology of science, or how sciences, the community of scientists come to consensuses, how those consensuses change and evolve, and also working class people. I wrote papers on these and got A pluses, and was encouraged to apply to graduate school and be an author and an academic. But being more of a man of action, at least that's how I viewed myself at that time, as I'd been a world traveler and circumnavigated the globe and seen a dozen different foreign countries. I was ready to get out there and work. Going back into the military was not too attractive, as I made 3 major deployments and went through long training cycles. Um, and I thought, how could you have a family or a wife and spend that much time away? Um, and it is dangerous. I did see death, and um, thought I'd done my bit. The Cold War had ended, the Berlin Wall had fallen. Um, that was my major motivation. My call of duty was to push back against communism. And so I'd done hard physical labor. I'd been a cook. Um, I've been a mechanic and worked in heat of over 90, 100 degrees, covered in grease and grime, repairing heavy equipment. And I'd worked in the hot heat and the cold, shoveling and marching. And I saw these people, stockbrokers, insurance agents, that some of whom seemed to make fantastic amounts of money, wore nice clothes, drank expensive liquor in nice restaurant bars, and they didn't have to go out and work in the freezing weather or the very hot weather. Their job didn't seem dangerous. Seemed like good working conditions, and a bachelor's degree was all that was required. So that's why I chose it. It was more for good working conditions and for a good income. I would like to say that most people who do stay in the industry are highly money motivated. Uh, this is a important point. They're not wanting to be high school math teachers or protect society as a good policeman, and there are many honorable policemen out there that really do protect and serve and have a very challenging, stimulating, and interesting job as well. Um, I had seen blood and guts, and I didn't really want to operate on people or be in a hospital where I could get sick. Um, so the healthcare field, which is a big one for employment, uh, didn't seem that attractive to me. And being a salesman um, also allowed you to seem like more autonomy and freedom. Uh, you can usually come and go as you please as long as you're hitting your quotas. And as a younger man, having lived on a ship where I had less than a duffel bag of personal possessions, slept on a cot, the fourth one up, and didn't have much material possessions most of the time, no apartment, no vehicle, took buses and walked. Um, the wealthy, affluent lifestyle that many successful financial professionals had um, looked attractive. And there's really two tracks to getting on with one of the top financial institutions, whether it's a smaller boutique type firm or one of the mega firms. You can either pretty much go to one of the highly selective elite higher educations, get a degree in, it could be civil engineering, physics, mathematics, economics, and graduate with good grades, and then get a graduate degree. Sometimes they'll hire you just because you have a physics degree, and they figure you're very intelligent, and they can teach you on the job through their own training program or just apprenticing under an expert. So I think most people who go into the financial services are motivated by money. This is and acquiring material possessions as much as a score keeping and as prestige amongst their peers. If you can get that certain luxury car, the big house or the second house, take the vacation to Australia or to Paris for your time off and stay in 4 or 5 star hotels. Um, Most of them who are successful are fiercely competitive, and it's not so much about the material gains as it is a competition. Um, just like swimmers or people who run track or race automobiles or motorcycles, people just want to win and they're competitive. And how you keep score in the financial services industry is making a lot of money. So when you go to speak to a financial services professional, they're called many different things: wealth managers, financial consultants, financial advisors, portfolio managers, accountants. When you go and interact with these people, you realize that they're highly ambitious people, and they're not there to have fun, so to speak. But the ones who have survived for a while are very goal-oriented and look out for themselves. Most of them do, even if it's just self-delusion, think that they're there to help you out, but they generally are more focused on themselves. If they land a big account, they tell all their colleagues and are very excited. And it's more about them and their big fee or commission or status in the firm rising than it really is helping the individuals or the public. I hope this is food for thought. Be kind and have a wonderful day.